Tonawanda Master Plan. So, Sonia, is that you?
That would be me. This is an update and a cost estimate for a Phase 1A of the Tonawanda Master Plan. At the May 7th Strategic Council meeting, we presented the Tonawanda Master Plan for adoption. This plan would provide for the development of the property purchased in 2017 adjacent to the park and add additional amenities within the existing park. The plan as proposed provided for the implementation in 2 phases. The first phase would include a splash pad, a restroom, shelter, parking area, and new entrance sign for that location. Staff shared that the project seemed to be a good fit for the North Carolina Parks and Recreation Trust Fund grant that could be submitted during the next grant cycle in May 2020. At that time, council expressed interest in making some improvements to this property sooner than the proposed time frame, and requested that staff provide a cost estimate for site work, parking area, pedestrian entrance, and a new sign. Staff has worked with the Alfred Benish company to provide this information. The total estimated cost for this portion of the project would be $163,553. And I have here, and also you have attached the schematic site plan, and also you have the budget estimate for these elements. We do not have any funding allocated in this year's budget for this project, so if you were to decide tonight this afternoon to move forward, we would need a budget amendment to allocate the funds out of this year's general fund. And we're just requesting guidance on how you would like for us to move forward with the project, if you would like for us to move forward with this phase or not.
I have a question. It's not directly pertaining to that. You say that May 2020, we may be eligible for North Carolina Parks grant.
And we do still plan, if council were to approve us doing that, we would still apply for that grant, but we would just remove these elements from the application. We would then be applying for the splash pad, the shelter, and the restroom facility.
Okay. Question of the council? Okay, no questions. Any discussion? Well, do I have any kind of motion?
I think you have, there's another item on the agenda.
Another item, energy services?
Yes, probably before we adjourn, yes, there is another item.
Okay.
So did you need something from us?
So we want to
Yes.
Tanya?
Just guidance. We were looking for, if you wanted to, if council's pleasure would be to move forward with trying to do this phase, because there was some interest in doing so, then we were looking for guidance. If you guys wanted to move forward, we had to have a budget amendment. We would come back, I guess, and bring in, at least I'll defer to you, that we would come back. But we do need, I guess, guidance if you would like to move forward, or if you would like for us just to wait.
I'll second that. Do you have a number by any chance?
For the amount, it was $163,553 is the total cost.
That number be accepted and move forward.
And then we'll bring back a budget amendment? How do you want to?
If you authorize it, we can prepare one and then route it through.
I have one question. I know you spoke about it. When you spoke about it, were you talking about moving forward with the whole thing or just the interest?
Yeah, what we're talking about now, all we're asking for is what we're identifying as Phase 1A. Phase 1A would include the parking area, a pedestrian path. Which was what this was. It's basically this parking area. The path you see into the park, that's a pedestrian path that gets you into the park from that parking lot. And then there would be a sign. We would put a.
So that's all you
identification
asking
sign.
for
That's
tonight?
all that would be included in the 163, and plus the site work and the design and all that goes into it with the
My
consultant.
recollection was that the meeting this was initially brought up, it seemed to be a lot of interest to get something going at the access.
That's correct.
To show momentum and results.
And beautification as well. To kind of
I just want to specify what you were asking.
Exactly, and then we would go forward, if council, we'd come back to you to ask for permission and to go forward with applying for a part of grant in May.
Okay.
For the splash pad, the restroom, and the shelter. And those funds would need, the matching funds would need to be allocated in the next fiscal year, 2021.
How long you estimate it would take to do this phase 1?
I talked with our architect about that right before I left, and he said probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 months, and that's dependent upon weather.
Okay.
Who does the maintenance on Highway 74 in the medium? Does that?
City of Monroe.
Is that recreation? Is that you, Tanya?
Not any longer, it is now Brian, facility, so Brian.
That's contracted through facilities maintenance. So
I just want to tell you, my wife has commented on that about 6 times recently, how good it looks.
it's looking good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it always, they keep it nice over, it's nice over there.
She told me, she said Kilgore couldn't have nothing to do with that. I said, no.
I mowed every bit of that.
So if there's no objection, what we'll do is we'll bring a budget amendment to the August meeting.
Or if they authorize a budget amendment now, we'll prepare the document
Oh,
for the
just-
mayor's signature.
Okay.
Okay, I have a motion, a second to move forward. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, all positive, and that'll pass it. We'll move on. Item 2 is Energy Services Project. All right, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Mr. Faison asked me to prepare a presentation to update you on the major initiatives and projects that we're working on in the Energy Services Department. And I prepared that for you today. The Energy Services is composed of 2 divisions, natural gas and electric. We'll start with the electric side, and then we'll move into the natural gas side. And again, this is for your information. There's nothing that we're presenting today asking for your approval for. This is just an informative session. On the electric side, we are working on the replacement and retirement of downtown vault switches. Have been working on that for some time. We have a bunch of DOT utility relocations due to widening projects and intersection projects. The Camelot subdivision, we're working on replacing all the electric underground cables in there. We have several subdivisions that are in the planning or review process or underway already. There's a biogas facility that is going to locate in North Carolina in Monroe, near the intersection of Highway 74 and Secrest Avenue, and I'll give you some information on that. Gulstan Technologies is also in the midst of an expansion at their facility. And we're also looking at supplemental power for the electric side, what our options are and alternatives. And we'll cover a mutual aid disaster drill that's going to take place tomorrow with electric cities of North Carolina. To begin with, the downtown vaults, let me give you a little history. All of the uptown infrastructure was put in place in the mid-1970s. Everything was underground cables, underground transformers, and it's aging and has failed on several different occasions. The layout involves 8 by 12 foot vaults, which is nothing but a concrete enclosed box in the ground. All of those are anywhere from 8 to 12 feet below the grade of the road. All the wires are in concrete encased conduit, and it goes throughout the downtown area. There's some problems with this construction. At the time when this was built, that was the best technology that was available for that time, and it has served the city well and been in service since mid-1970s, so with a few problems, but having all the vaults below grade in a concrete box that our employees have to get in and operate, and these are high voltage 13,200 volt vaults and cables that carry energy through there. There's a bunch of risk factors to our employees. There are also factors that involve the extensive outages. Because it's below the ground, it takes longer to repair, it takes longer to find a problem, and so we have longer outages when it does go out. We've developed some strategies for replacement. We're going to replace a lot of the switches that are down there with above grade switches, route the cables in, from the vaults into these pad mounted switches. They're a lot safer for our employees to work on. They can work out in the open and operate these things a lot easier with less risk to themselves than the ones in the vault. We've already completed 2 of these, and that is the one at Church and Stuart Street between City Hall and the County Government Center, and that is the finished product. And then most recently, we replaced the one at Beasley and Morgan near the police department.
So this is taking them from underground vaults to above ground? Where
Yes.
we can easily access them and fix them?
Yes, that's
when
correct.
they need to be fixed.
Yes.
I think that's great.
And just for illustration purposes for this particular aspect of the project, what would you say, how many times to fully install and make the transition, how many times did we wind up having to shut down power in some parts of town to do that?
On this particular switch, we had 3 separate outages. And the reason for that is because we have to keep our customers powered with electricity while we're converting to the new switch. So it takes several 6 to 8 hour outages to convert portions at a time to the new switch. So we keep the integrity of the electric customers going while this is taking place. If we try to do it all at once, you're looking at a 2 to 3 day outage to get everything converted. So we break it up into smaller portions. We try to schedule this on weekends and downtime so that we will affect customers as little as possible.
How many have to be replaced?
Currently, there are 11 switches in the ground. All of those will come out. We will go back with 6 switches. So we're going to eliminate 5 of the existing switches.
All of them have like those little yellow, that's to keep cars or something from running into them?
This particular one has the bollards in it because it is there in the parking lot area, and it's to protect the switch from being run into by vehicles. The other one at City Hall, it's off in the grass area, so there weren't any bollards required on it.
How long does it take to switch one out?
Well, like I say, we do it in 3 different outages. There's a lot of work that goes on ahead of that, getting the switch installed. You know, we have to dig down to the existing vault. We have to install conduit so that we can pull new cables into the conduit and up into the new switch location. And we will actually set the new switch before we ever have the first outage so that we minimize the downtime for our customers. And then, 3 separate outages, anywhere from 6 to 8 hours in length apiece. And that is pulling new wires in, making the ends up, and swapping from the old switch to the new switch. This is a picture of our existing vaults, the switches that are downtown in the vaults themselves. As you can see, they're mild steel, they're prone to rust. The vaults stay full of water from road runoff, and they're just in bad shape. This is also a safety risk to our employees. All of these switches are degraded to the point that we don't allow employees to go in there with the switches energized. Any one of them could fail at any time, and we would prefer that our employees were not in there when that happened.
Right.
This is a map of the downtown. The 2 that we've replaced already that I showed you. The most recent one was finished early this year in fiscal year 19. For FY20, we're going to be working on the Crowell Street side down near the old homeless shelter and working up toward Haynes Street. FY21, we will go through Stuart Street. There are 3 switch locations there. And then FY22, 2 more down at the south end of town near the post office. And hopefully once we get through all that, we'll have them all done. Knock on wood, we'll have reliable power downtown for decades to come. There are also 5 switches we will be eliminating, and they're indicated here. Actually, one of those is already gone, so there's only 4 on the map. The other area of interest is DOT utility relocations. As I mentioned, there are several DOT projects underway, and they all require us to move our electric lines in some form or fashion, poles, wires, even fiber optic lines. Highway 74 and Rocky River Road, that's currently under construction. They're going to make that into a super street, and they're going to align James Hamilton Road with Myers Road. We've already had to move our overhead pole line there. We still have to go back and move the fiber optics that we have in that location. Next on their list is replace the bridge at Skyway Drive and Highway 74. They're also going to add roundabouts at either end of that exit and entrance ramp, and we have lines that will be affected there as well. Concord Avenue and Highway 74, they're planning to replace that bridge as well, and again with the roundabouts at the ends, and we will have to move some of our lines there. They're also planning to widen Highway 74 from Rocky River Road to Dickerson Boulevard. And so far, we haven't got a good, clear picture on when that's going to take place and what effect it will have on our overhead utility lines there. We have been told we will be impacted. What the extent of that impact is, we're not sure yet. They're also planning to widen and redo the intersection of Dickerson Boulevard and Charlotte Avenue, and widen Highway 601 north from 74 up to the bypass. All of these will impact our electric utilities in some way. The Camelot subdivision. Camelot is a subdivision back behind the Chick-fil-A restaurant off of Highway 74. Encompasses King Arthur Drive, Knights Court, Round Table Road, and Foxmore Drive. All of these cables and transformers were installed in the early 1980s. Again, it was the best technology that was available then. It has degraded to the point that we are seeing some outages, and it's to the point that we need to replace these facilities. The subdivision construction that we're aware of, there's a new subdivision going in at Rocky River and Seeker Shortcut with 167 townhomes. Rocky River and Myers Road with 50 townhomes. James Hamilton and Rocky River, 100 townhomes. Seekers Price Road, 119 townhomes. Frazier Court, Dickerson Boulevard and Charlotte Avenue, 72 apartment buildings. Seekers Commons on West Franklin Street, 425 single-family homes. Alexander Commons, MLK Junior Boulevard and Highway 75, there'll be 52 single-family homes, 25 townhomes. Medon Road, there's 75 single-family homes there. 601 South and White Store Road, there'll be 250 single-family homes going in that location. Concord Avenue, 360 single-family homes. Dees Road, 98 single-family homes and 130 townhomes. And Seeker Shortcut Road, 200 single-family homes. In total, that's 2,123 new residences, 1,460 single-family homes, 591 townhomes, and 72 apartments. And we will be tasked with running electric service to all of these. They're all within our territory, and we will serve them with electricity. The biogas facility I mentioned is basically a poultry litter anaerobic digester, which is a big fancy term of saying they collect poultry waste and they produce electricity with it. It is a renewable energy source. It will generate 6.2 megawatts of power from poultry waste. They have an agreement with Monroe and Duke Energy to supply this power back on the power grid. It'll be located at 74 near Seacrest Avenue, down toward Tyson Foods. Construction is planned for 2020 and 2021. And we've agreed to allow Biogas to sell the power generated at their facility through our lines to get back to Duke Energy at a rate of $1.31 per generated kilowatt per month. This is an estimated annual revenue of $98,000. Gulstan Technologies, they are in the midst of expanding their facility. They want to construct a pipe bridge under our existing overhead electric line. We have a main line that traverses their property alongside of the creek that's there, and they want to cross that with metal pipes that will be in conflict with the energized wires there. So we have given them an estimate on what it will take to convert that to underground to allow this to happen. It's an expense to the city of $147,222.27. And we have an agreement with them. They've agreed to pay a contribution and aid to recoup this money back to the city, and that will be presented on the council meeting this evening. There's an 8-year period of payback, and they can either pay it back in dollars or increase their electric load at the facility enough to cover that expense. That's the overhead line that runs down through their property that we'll have to put underground. The supplemental power agreement, in the late 1970s, early 80s, Monroe joined 18 other cities in the western part of the state and formed the North Carolina Municipal Power Agency #1. We bought the majority share of the Catawba Nuclear Generating Station And Duke Energy operates that for us, but the power agency owns the majority share in one of those generators. We get the majority of our electricity from that station. However, there's about 2% of our energy needs that we don't get from there, and we get that from a supplemental power supplier. We're currently looking at options to purchase this supplemental power at a reduced cost than what we're paying now. One option being looked at is a natural gas fired generation plant that could produce this energy for ourselves from our natural gas pipeline.
How long would that take?
The construction itself, I would say with the engineering, the construction and everything, get it operational, probably 18 to 24 months.
Permitting is probably the bigger challenge.
Yes.
Can you give me an idea how much savings or how much money that would generate over what we are now? Got the idea?
Somewhere in the neighborhood of $250,000 annually. As I mentioned, the mutual aid disaster drill with Electricities. I'll be traveling to Raleigh tomorrow. Just want to bring that to your attention that with hurricane season in full force, and we've already had our first hurricane of the year, all the cities that are part of Electricities are having a disaster drill based on how we would respond to a hurricane. We all have mutual aid agreements with each other. If we're struck with damage here, cities in other parts of the state will send their employees to come help us put everything back up, and vice versa. We would send our employees to help them as well. Moving on to the gas division. We're in the midst of a pipeline expansion to Edward Wood Products in Marshville. They're also facing some DOT utility relocations, Concord Avenue system upgrade, subdivision construction, and several system improvement projects. The pipeline expansion to Edwards Wood Products, we received a $100,000 contribution from Union County to help pay for that expansion into Marshville. Currently, we're in the design and permit process. We plan to bid the project toward the end of this month. We still have 11 rights of way that we haven't gained yet, so we're in the process of doing that. We hope to bring this to council approval in September.
Is there an estimated cost?
Don't have that yet. We will have it by September, and when we send the bids out at the end of this month, we hope to get bids and be able to give that information then.
How long will it take to complete that line when you start it to the wood project?
We plan to begin in September with an estimated completion date of March 2020. So basically 6 months, 7 months.
Yeah, okay. Very good.
The DOT gas relocation projects, they're all the same ones that affect the electric system. They also affect the gas system. Then there are a few other ones that don't affect electric, but they do affect the gas system. Stewart's Creek Bridge on Morgan Mill, that's slated for 2026. Replace the bridge on Old Camden Road, 2023. Sykes Mill Road and Tom Boyd, install roundabouts. There's no estimated date on that one yet. And that's all on the gas side. The Concord Avenue project, we've gone through Concord Avenue, replaced aging 2-inch steel gas main, putting in 4-inch plastic main pipe from Charlotte Avenue to Park Avenue. New plastic pipe has an estimated lifespan of over 50 years. All of the pipe, the main line pipe has been replaced and in the ground now, and the crews are going through and tying in all the service lines and the mains, and hope to wrap that up in the next 2 to 3 months. Natural gas subdivision construction, again, they have all the same subdivisions that affect the electric side. They also affect the gas system. And then there are a bunch more on the gas side that do not affect the electric system. Simpson Farm on Seeker Shortcut, there'll be 194 single-family homes there. Fowler Sechrist, 67 single-family, 76 townhomes. Ridge Road to Stratford, 207 single-family homes. Stallings Family Trust, Unionville Indian Trail Road, 107 single-family homes. Poplar Grove, 125 single-family homes. Myers Road, 13 single-family homes. John Moore Road, 21 single-family. Rocky River and Highway 84, 185 single-family. Rocky River and Doster Road, 75 single-family, and there's possibility of 400 additional in another phase after that initial 75 is constructed. Waxhaw Landing on Highway 84, 437 single-family homes. That's a total of 3,558 new residences coming into Monroe. 2,891 will be single-family, 772 townhomes that we will serve with natural gas. The natural gas system improvements. Unionville Indian Trail Road, there's an interconnect between the Stratford subdivision and Poplar Grove that will allow us some better pressure on the gas system up in that area. As we see these subdivisions come in and there's more and more demand for natural gas, we have to be proactive and prepare the pipes to deliver that gas before the need is actually there. Poplar Road, again, that's a interconnect, provides redundancy for the customers up in that area. Similar to the electric side, we can feed customers from different directions in case of a break or damage or whatever. Same thing on the gas side. Seeker Shortcut will be replacing existing 2-inch plastic with 4-inch plastic. This will improve our system pressure and allow us to put more capacity there. Patton Avenue also replacing 1-inch steel with 4-inch plastic to improve system pressures. Dees Road and Highway 601 North will improve the system pressure there. And an additional interconnect to Unionville to provide redundancy and improve system pressure. And an additional interconnect to Unionville at the Glendalough and the Stratford subdivision to provide redundancy and better pressures in that area. With all these projects in mind and upcoming, we have some challenges that we're looking at. The first one is, do we have adequate staffing levels to meet the demand of additional electric and natural gas installation and infrastructure to meet the timelines and the demands of the customers? Do we have adequate staffing levels to meet the increase in utility locates, service calls, all the things that come with adding an additional 4,000 customers to our electric and gas system? Do we have enough administrative and engineering staff to handle the new growth that we're seeing? And do we have enough capacity on our electric and natural gas system to serve these loads and still be in a position to continue to serve new growth as it develops? And we're looking now at how do we need to grow from here? What is the future of the electric and natural gas system? What do we need to be doing today to prepare ourselves for 10, 20 years down the road?
Question.
Yes, sir.
How about starting at the top and telling me the answer to each one you just brought up?
At the current time, yes, I think our staffing levels are adequate. As we get into more and more of the construction, we start adding more customers. That may be an issue that we'll have to look at in future fiscal years. Again, you add a bunch of homes, you add more service calls, you have more smells gas complaints, you have more utility locates that need to be done, power outages, all these things require manpower to do. These are challenges that we're looking at. These are not immediate needs, but we're looking at this in light of the additional growth and trying to be proactive and prepare ourselves for the growth that's coming this way.
David, any plans for the near future of switching over to LED lighting for the whole city?
We have not looked at that I guess we haven't gone that step. The reason for that is the LED light fixtures themselves have been in a progressive development since they were first introduced. The original LED lights were about $700 a fixture, which was probably 10 times what we paid for the high pressure sodium lights. As they've developed, they've continued to come down in cost, and we have, that's one of the projects we're looking at is does it now make sense to move into replacing our existing with LEDs? We were waiting for the cost to come down because it is so expensive to replace. But that is something we're looking at probably in the next year to 18 months.
Okay.
How about the next to the last question? Do we have an adequate capacity of electric and natural gas?
At the current time, we do.
Well, and that's good. That's what I thought you would say. We should have enough natural gas for a long, long time, should we not?
I would think so.
Well, the reason I was asking that question, we went through this a few years back. This was gonna be enough gas to last us for 50 years or whatever he was talking.
Right.
And I certainly didn't want to see what the answer, I want to see what your answer was, so it's still there.
Yes, sir.
We good with that new gas line.
Yes,
That's great.
That's even with the 4,000 additional?
yes, yes. We have enough capacity on both the electric and the natural gas system to absorb
I know
these
that's why
customers.
we talked about and did that gas lines some years back, and, I knew we should be good on that gas, right? Or we were told that anyway.
Yes,
Are we good with the electric too?
yes, ma'am. Mr. Don Mitchell did an excellent job during his tenure here to make sure that the city of Monroe was set up for growth into the future with the electric and natural gas system. We probably have, 5 to 10 years worth of time before we really need to start adding capacity to those systems, depending. If the growth increases in speed, we may have shorter time, but we're at the place where we need to start looking down the road and see what steps do we need to be taking now to prepare us to be able to serve the loads 5, 10, 15 years from now.
You know, the interesting thing, what he just told us about the growth on the residential side, industrial side, we're up about $267 million this year. Larry, I think that's right, which is 420% above what was projected. So I give you guys credit. Y'all done a hell of a job. You, Tanya, Chris,
You'll keep it rolling.
Lisa.
That's the name of the game.
At one time, we were having to get a pet crew in. We don't have to do that anymore.
Contract labor crew? We released the contract labor crew that we had. They just finished up their contract on June 28th, and we no longer employ them on a regular basis now.
Wonderful.
Staffing levels have improved, and we're up to speed where we can handle the majority of our work without contract labor.
We appreciate the support that City Council provided to make those adjustments.
Absolutely.
Increase the competitiveness in those classifications as well as across the board.
Yes.
But Larry, if we're gonna be in the business and we're gonna be number one at it, we've gotta step up to the plate and meet those challenges when we need to increase, to make our guys safe and competitive.
Well, that's where we at today. We have stepped up and met those challenges. That's put us here where we're at today. But we've got to continue to do that. So in 5 years or 10 years, we'll be there where we're at today.
Yes. Exactly.
I know we have to plan. You got to plan for the future. I understand that.
And Dave's not sitting on the backside. Dave's looking. Dave's evaluating.
Yeah, because that's what
That was a good report.
This was an outstanding presentation.
Thank you.
You did a great job. You were prepared, and the PowerPoint slides were precise and easy to follow. And
Even for an English teacher.
yeah, even for me. I think I hope I know this is recorded. I hope a lot of our citizens will take the time to watch this because it's very informative, and I think it just shows how progressive we are as a city.
Absolutely. Well, I must admit, my ulterior motive in preparing this presentation is so that I could understand it. I like to have things very simple and, straightforward.
Very informative.
Very good, David.
Any questions I can answer?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, that's all we have.
That's all we got. Okay, that's all we got. It's time to, we won't adjourn. We're just going to take a break and we'll adjourn later. But we'll be back here at 6 o'clock for a regular meeting. Break time, lunchtime, dinner time.
Thank you, Mayor.
David, can I get a copy of that PowerPoint?